I mean, like, I have the title of a doctor now, but not the medical kind of doctor.
At the moment, I'm actually working 50-50. It's like 50% office and 50% at home. So
They have given me credits on one of my research product, which is known as electric system cascade analysis. Yeah, Johor, Istana, Malaysia is quite a big region. Johor Bahru.
So, do you want to talk or share a little bit on whatever innovation currently that you're working on or you're attached to? So, hi everyone. So, welcome to my second episode of the Innovators Minutes, also known as Time. So, today we have with us Dr.Ho Wai Shin, who was also awarded as the National Young Scientist of the year 2020. And today he's going to talk a little bit on his journey on clean energy. So, hi, Dr. Ho.
Hi, Vishan. Yeah.
How are you
First of
doing?
all, thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast. Is a very wonderful thing for you to do. And me, I'm currently working from home, doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm doing great. So at the moment, I'm actually working 50-50. It's like 50% office and 50% at home. So anyway, congratulations on your awards. That's definitely an incredible achievement. So do you want to share a bit
Thank
on
you very
your
much.
journey on being awarded as this National Young Scientist?
Okay, let me first introduce myself. All right. My name is again Ho Wai Shin. I'm a researcher from UTM. So I work in the area of process system engineering, and especially in what we call it as applied system optimization. So in a general layman term of speaking, what I do is I study a specific system and I develop a mathematical model to represent it, and then I apply optimization algorithm. Yeah, so to identify optimum solution. So for this specific case, I deal a lot onto the energy sector. So like renewable energy such as solar, biomass, biogas. So I work with all those things, but not limited to that. I also include studies such as sustainable development, waste management, and also environmental engineering. So you asked the question on what is my journey like until I got my award today onto
Yes,
clean
yes.
energy. Yeah. Um, it was a fun journey. Yeah, it has always been my passion to do what I'm doing now. So like actually initially this story starts, I would say, back when I was maybe from six.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not way back.
when I was reading things about global warming and environmental issue related to the world. So that time I told myself that I wanted to do something like people always say you want to be a doctor, so you
Yeah.
want to save human, right? But for me, I was like, okay, that's overrated. So I will leave the doctor job to whoever who wants that. But for me, it's like for me to save humanity, I don't have to be a doctor. I mean, like I have the title of a doctor now, but not the medical
Yes,
kind of
yes.
doctor, right? So for me, it's like I could actually do something to help out the world in terms of environmental engineering, renewable energy, and by creating a cleaner environment for everyone to live in,
Mm-hmm.
that is actually saving life as well.
True.
Yeah. So I embarked onto this journey. I took up the course of chemical engineering. And upon graduation, I continued my PhD in a similar field and study on this, which then leads me to my research output, especially for the one that I've won. They have given me credits on one of my research product, which is known as electric system cascade analysis.
Mm-hmm.
That was the research that I was doing. So that research
Okay.
was actually is a form of a targeting method, or I would say an optimization algorithm, kind of, but not the very complex type. For me to optimize, like if you want to install a solar PV in your house, or like in a industry or a commercial building or whatsoever, like do you need energy storage, or can the solar be installed by itself, standalone?
Okay.
Right? So I'll be able to identify like what is the optimal capacity of the solar, the optimal capacity of the energy storage, and also the schedule on like when you want to use the energy or when you want to store the energy. So from that, I have done quite a lot of analysis and a lot of publication. I also have helped out some of the local authorities because I was involved with this project known as the Low Carbon Society Project. We
Hmm.
started off this project with the JICA, the
Uh-huh.
Japan Association, right? So they provided us this grant
Okay.
to help to come up with a blueprint, a low carbon society blueprint for Iskandar, Malaysia.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Johor,
So I
right?
go down to ground. Yeah, Johor, Iskandar, Malaysia is quite a big region. Johor Bahru, Pasir Gudang area. So it consists of a quite huge area. So we came out with analysis on what type of renewable energy, especially on my part, because when it comes to a low carbon society, we are talking a lot of sectors like mobility, green building, a lot of things. But for me, I was focusing more to my area of expertise, which is energy. Yeah. So I believe that my contribution to the society in that sense, and also my research output has, have backed me the award,
Oh,
which I am truly thankful. So the journey, it is not to say easy, is challenging, but to me, it's like more of a hobby. I was doing this because it's my passion. So yeah, so there is no stress in the sense that, all the KPI or the achievement that need to be done, technically it's automatic. So yeah, so I'm quite happy that I'm doing what I wanted to do, and that's my journey. Yeah.
that's a very nice one because you have started this at a very young age. You started what since when you were 18 years old? So that's a very long journey, but I think you have achieved a lot in a very short period of time. That's actually very incredible. But I would say it's more of your passion towards this, right? Towards this field that actually led you to won award at a very young stage. So that's a very good one, and congratulations again, because
Thank you.
this is really great. So I wanted to ask you before, like moving into anything else, going into a very technical side of it, right? Just wanted to ask you, what is your thoughts on the research gap between because you being in academic, right, and you will try to engage with a lot of industries to to incorporate your technologies, any products that you're developing at the university level. So, what do you think on the research gap between academic and also on the industry? So, what's your opinion on this? Is there a very huge gap on this, or is something that it's able to fill up the gap? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think first of all, the gap is there, but
Hmm.
actually simple communication and discussion between the industry and the university, or basically the researcher, could easily fill up this gap. Okay, why I say so is actually recently I was asked a very similar question, but the question sounds more like, the question to me was research work done by scientists is always like shock scenery. It's like it's too futuristic, or it's too fundamental or things like that, and it's not practical for implementation. So like you cannot implement whatever that we are researching on to the industry. So I get that is why people see the gap.
Okay,
Like industry want practicality, but the researcher is doing something like we don't see how is it implementable. So that is the
understand.
thing. My first opinion regarding this is that it's actually the research culture. Actually, in this whole academia world,
Okay,
like we are chasing for publication, our university ranking, so we want research output, a
okay,
lot of it. And
understand.
research output, when you want to do that, one of the main things that we look into is what we call as novelty. So
Okay,
whatever that we do research on, right, it has
mm,
to have an impact in the sense that the research is also not done by anyone else before,
understand.
right? Yeah, and when it comes to research, also those they are looking more towards the merit in terms of the scientific knowledge that we provide. So sometimes it is rather difficult for us to actually incorporate something very practical on how it can be practical in our research paper. So I believe that is when, when a lot of these industry players, they open the web, they download some papers from researcher, and when they read it, they feel like this is too fundamental or this analysis is just too idealistic.
Understand.
So they don't see it. But the thing is that through my experience, like I say, I've done with the Low Carbon Society project, where
Yeah.
I actually go down to talk to the local authorities in terms of the implementation. Because when I was working with these town planners, like for me, I'm engineer, right? So
Yeah.
when I was working with this Low Carbon Society project, I was working with a big group of town planners. And
Okay.
town planners, they see things very differently. They are more towards like, how is it practical? Like you are talking about technologies that is so small that it's just like a pilot case that doesn't bring an impact to the society. So they
Understand.
wanted something like, that is there in a huge scale and bring a large impact. So that
Okay.
is one thing that I could see the difference. But when it comes to that, okay, another perspective, when I was talking to industry, they
Uh-huh.
wanted something that is more practical. So every time when I review back the work that I do, or basically the product that I develop, I always try for something like very futuristic. But when
Okay.
I just looking back into the product itself, it actually can be tailored quite easily to what the industry want or what the people want. It's just that when you're talking about implementation, it is not necessarily a brand new knowledge or a brand new technology that we are talking about. It is just that it has to solve certain of their industrial problems. Yeah, so I believe that there should be better communication between the industry and researcher, or else the researcher will always be talking something like maybe 10 years ahead, and we do not know what exactly the industry want at the moment, which actually the technology is already available in the
Correct.
university,
Correct.
right? You just have to be tweaked a little, and you just have to be creative a little bit and tailor it so that it can work.
Okay.
So to me, the gap is definitely be something that we can tie them together if we have more discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, like for me also, like UTM, we also start to have more engagement with industries. And for me personally, I also try to talk to more industrial player now.
That's
Yeah, so I believe
nice.
communication is the key in this case.
Because often I believe academic research, you need to have some sort of collaboration in order to commercialize your products, right? Especially collaborations with the industries in order to commercialize your products. That's the way of moving forward. Otherwise, it's very hard for you to pitch your idea and for you to commercialize. Because what I realized is that there is a lot of research in academic level, which they are not able to commercialize. They always stop at the prototype stage, but they are not able to commercialize or to sell it in the market. So you always need this industry collaboration. But do you think, like what you were saying that academic research, they always think far ahead, probably like 10 years ahead, very futuristic thinking, right? So do you think industry doesn't implement that kind of thinking, or what's your opinion on this?
Um, I think there's one more thing that you mentioned just now is that researcher, right? I believe we lacked a little bit on like the entrepreneurship and the market survey and things like that.
Okay.
So we kind of like look into more towards the perspective of the academia,
Uh-huh.
right? So I'm not saying exactly like the industry, they do not think far ahead. I believe they do think far ahead, but it's always in line with the industrial needs, like what they actually want. But the academia, we are looking into another perspective, which is what is the current level of research related to this topic and how we can keep on expanding it. Or we are talking about like the fundamental science.
Mm,
So I believe the direction is actually slightly quite different, but it is there.
okay.
So that is the thing that they need
Need to
to
close the gap.
yeah, they need to just talk to each other, and then we provide the lab facilities and everything so the industry can test out any new ideas that they have that could meet what they want. Yeah.
Yes, understand. That's
So,
actually a very great explanation, Dr. Ho. So talking about on all this, right? So do you want to talk or share a little bit on whatever innovation currently that you're working on or you're attached to?
Yes, definitely. Like I mentioned just now, one of the research output or basically the technique that I developed that won me the National
Yes.
Young Scientist Award
Correct.
was ESCA, which I developed it into a software known as Ideas.
Okay.
So the software was, like I say, it's the optimization software, but actually when you think about it, in fact, that was done like 5 years back. When you
Oh,
think
okay.
about it, yeah, like, engineers, they could just come and install solar at your house, and knowing that, solar will never be, the supply will never be more than the building's demand. So why is there a need to identify the schedule and everything whereby the energy that is produced will 100% be used up, right?
Yes.
So during that time when I developed that product, also it hits me. So who can implement this? Only maybe like you're talking later down, 10 years down, when solar is such a blooming industry that everyone is implementing, or let's say the government has approved projects that's up to 2 gigawatt of solar PV system, and we're talking about a grid, all those things, then it only become relevant. So when I review back, I started to come up with a new software or a new system, which now we call it as MERCAT. So
MERCAT.
MERCAT is known as monitoring energy and centralizing automation.
Okay.
So what I wanted was to bring that product down, one level down, so that I can actually implement it. And with the IoT and everything now, we are talking about real-time data acquisition. So
Yeah.
I believe that my ideal thinking 5 years back when I was doing ESCA is actually now possible. Maybe back then it's not possible because the IoT is not that advanced. Yeah, so if you're talking about real-time data, it's like how accurate your real-time data can be. But now it is a different story,
Correct.
right? But the thing is that this industry now, or this market now, is very proprietary. Like if you want to purchase this automation system, you really have to use one specific product brand and apply it all.
Hmm.
And that can be very expensive because we are talking about if you have to change all your lights, you have to change all your switch and everything. So what we are doing is that we are creating this wireless platform
Okay.
that we can integrate any existing electronics, IoT devices, sensors, and put it all into one platform,
Okay.
right? So when we do that, the cost can be cheaper in the sense that you don't have to change everything in your house, and
All
you can
right.
still use back whatever there it is. And wireless also can provide a lower cost because you don't have to hack your whole house to rewire everything,
Okay.
right? So from that, we further develop that thing. Okay, now with automation, maybe the home people will find it very comforting. If we have this system, it will be very fun. But how about the commercial people? They may
Yes.
not want those functions. They may want to look more into let's say energy saving,
Okay.
right? So we incorporated this energy monitoring into it. So now
Mm-hmm.
we'll be able to detect like different zone or the industry. We have different production line. So each production line, let's say we can monitor the energy consumption. So we'll know which one is performing and which one is not. So in
Okay.
terms of if it's not performing, we'll be able to implement more energy efficient initiative into it. So they could do something to reduce the energy consumption and things like that. Yeah. So now putting into that, this is what we currently trying to market out. Because initially, right, like let's say a year ago, this is related directly to your question just now. As in us researcher, why our product always stop at prototype and doesn't commercialize. So
Commercialized.
this happened to me. So this is a true
Okay.
story happening to me. A year
Uh-huh.
back when I was developing the product, when I
Okay.
developed it ready, I keep thinking something is lacking. It could have been better. So I
Okay.
wanted something more. So I continue to do research on making it better. And then I keep continue until like one whole year later, and someone asked me like, what have you done in this whole year? Why is your product not out yet?
Okay.
But fortunately, UTM, we have this center, Innovation and Commercialization Center.
Okay.
So they told us something like, you researcher, you are too idealistic. You want something to be totally perfect, but sometimes that is not what the market wants. The
True.
market just wants something simple and applicable. So if you already have something, why not you just package it and release it to the market? So
Okay.
so in that case, I review back. I was like, oh yeah, initially I wanted to integrate not just the control, not just the monitoring, but also the optimization algorithm that I developed, the
Uh-huh.
one that I mentioned,
So
and
now
put it
you
all
got
together.
the package.
Yeah, but when I want to do all this, it takes a long time because it's an ongoing research.
Okay.
Then they told me like, why are you looking so far ahead? You already have the monitoring part, you already have the automation part. Why not just market that first?
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, so when I did that and start to talk to the industry about it, so I noticed that people are actually interested.
Okay.
Yeah, so I believe there's a weakness of us researcher lah. We tend to keep trying to enhance and improve, and the cycle actually never ends. The
Mm,
cycle will never end, in fact.
correct.
So we just know when we have to stop and get that out first.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like
So I
whatever you're
believe,
doing, you do it by stages, right? So when you have done this, try to commercialize. When done this, commercialize, and then you will do it better as time goes by. I think you should do that. I think like what you have done is like you wanted everything to be so perfect, and then you want to
yeah,
commercialize. By the time you commercialize, it's like you will look at the timeline. It's already like probably outdated or no things like that. It could happen, right?
yeah, and when it's outdated, then you have to research some more.
Yes.
It's not wise to do that. So I have learned my lesson. So now I'm packaging this MERCAT, which is the control and the monitoring part, and get it on the market first.
That's
Yeah.
actually a very good point for academia people to look into this. Once you have developed, try to look into for any collaboration in industry partners and everything. Commercialize that first, and then as time goes by, you keep getting it better and better because you already have your connection with the industry, right? So you have a very close engagement, and then you can develop your research from there, which I think that's the way to go, and for
Yeah.
you to stay competitive.
Yeah. Certainly it's very important to collaborate with industry because they know the market better.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So in that way, your product will be tangible and able to be commercialized, right? So besides that,
Yes.
what other challenges you actually encounter besides all this feedbacks that you actually gain from your university and from the industry as well? So what are the other challenges you could actually point it out maybe on your in terms of resources or in terms of whether to really get a very good collaboration with the industry? So could you share some of your challenges?
My other challenges actually would be more on my career nature or my job nature. Is
Okay,
that as a researcher in Malaysia, we are not just doing research. We have
okay,
to teach, right? Our KPI, as in our key performance index, we have like teaching to comply to, we have research to comply to, we have consultancy to comply to,
okay.
and we have what we call as community service to comply to as well.
That's a
And
lot.
then, yeah, among all that, we also have to do admin work for the university. So there is like a lot of things going on, and sometimes it can be like, let's say this season now is the exam season, so I have to mark like 100 papers or 100 questions
Understand.
within this few weeks. So when you have that, right, how is it likely that you can suddenly turn into your research and concentrate? So there's
Mm.
always this short gaps in between and keep dragging your mind off your research. So that is one challenge, but to me, after 5 years working and getting used to it, it is not that difficult anymore. And yeah, it's more or less like how to get used to it.
But it's also your KPI is like it's determined on based on how many papers you're publishing in a year, and all that is taken into account.
Yeah, that's taken into account as well. Like our collaboration with company as well, like those things. Also the grant that we get.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's a
Mm.
must for y'all to get a grant every year, or how does it work on in terms of the grant application?
Yes, it's a part of KPI. It's not necessary that you have to get it every year because let's say sometimes you obtain a grant is for 3 years time,
Okay.
right? So they will take that into account. So, but that is one of the major criteria lah. But it's not that if you don't get it this year, then it's the end of the world. It is not like that,
Okay. So
right? But definitely, it's a great boost.
nice. I just want to know, okay, what would be your advice to the younger generation, right? Since you're already in academic background, and you've already engaged with industrial people before this for your products and your innovations. So what would your advice to the younger generation? Would you recommend them to go to the industry and get some knowledge, or it's okay for them to continue from, right after their degree they can actually pursue to their masters and PhD and be an academic, they still can gain a lot of insights into innovations? Or what would your advice on this? Or actually get into industry, gain some experience, and come back to academic? What's your thoughts and on into this?
Okay. Personally, I have discussed this a lot with my wife. Because we were
Interesting.
discussing about the younger generation, how the new generation is, and how their working attitude is actually already different from, let's
Yes.
say, those that are born in the 1980s and compared to the 1990s, and now even the millennial, the 2000, right?
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, to me is that personally myself, when I graduated, I actually went to the industry to work
Okay.
for about half a year, but
Uh-huh.
I noticed that my passion was in research. That's why I go back to the university. And that time I wanted to do something for the community. And that was when there was a research grant for the Low Carbon Society for Iskandar, Malaysia. Yeah, so I thought that is a very good opportunity for me. And I went back to the university. But I did not regret the decision. As you can see now, I continue on my journey being a UTM lecturer and continue to do my research. So the thing is that when I was doing my research, I never thought, or in my mindset, it has never occurred to me that I'm studying. I
Okay.
treated my PhD as a job,
Okay.
right? So I have that attitude, and I always have this thinking, like, if you are an employee working for an employer, you cannot always ask your employer to spoon feed you.
True.
It is what you bring to the organization.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that was the mindset that I have. Like, how should what I can do to improve the project that I'm working for. And I believe that is the mindset that a lot of younger generation should have.
Okay.
Yeah, so never treat something like,
Definitely.
if you are doing research or you are still studying as a master student, don't think you are a student. Don't downgrade yourself. Consider yourself as a working individual, and you will be able to get more opportunity. You see, most of the time, right, the supervisors, let's say the researcher in university, they actually have a lot of projects. If you actually
Okay.
take the initiative to talk to them, like you want to get involved with certain real industrial problems and things like that, I believe they are more than happy to get you involved or to get the student involved. Although sometimes that work may not be directly related to your research.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is what I did. So that time I was that 3 years when I was doing my PhD, I was incredibly busy
Okay.
because apart from my research, I was actually helping out my professor to do
Wow.
some other form of consultation project that she was involved with.
Okay. So you went
Yeah,
extra,
and I
you
believe,
went extra mile.
yeah, so that is the industrial experience that I get,
Actually,
right?
that's a very good
So
one.
yeah, so it really depends, right? If the younger generation, what they want, they have to define their goal in life. Like, do you want to be an academician? Do you like teaching? Or do you really like research? If you are into that path, I would say you don't have to worry too much about gaining experience. If you have that mindset that, when you come in and do your research, you're actually working, which means you are still getting in touch with the industry. You are not disconnecting yourself because you are in the university. No, right? But if that is not your passion, I would say, yeah, just go ahead and go to the industry, get involved with real life problem, and yeah, it really depends on what they want in their life.
That's a very good advice, Dr. Ho, because end of the day, it all comes back to your passion. So if you have passion on your research and everything, you still want to be in the academic field, then go ahead. And I'm sure a lot of graduates would want to, if they want to earn money and all, they think industry would be an option. But I think it's nothing less if you want to compare with academic life as well, right? You can still look up, you can still earn money out of it, especially when you
Yeah,
innovate products and you're able to commercialize them. Then that's you have your share there, right?
yeah, that's also like, you still can go to the path of and being an entrepreneur as a
Correct.
researcher. So the thing that when you are a researcher, actually in Malaysia, your option is like really huge. You can be a consultant, you can still work with the industry, which is what I was doing. Like I did energy audit projects for industries. I did environment impact assessment reports for industry as well. That's more on the environmental side.
That's
So I
nice.
still work with the industry. So, you know, yeah.
That's
And I
very
still
good
can do
one.
my research. I can still teach. I can be an entrepreneur. Is that sometimes we need to calm down a little bit and decide to focus on one because we don't want to be the jack of all trades.
Correct, correct. You have a
Yeah.
lot on your plate already, being a lecturer yourself. So that's very good insights that you actually shared with us today, Dr. Ho. Thank you so much for your time today. I think there's a lot of valuable lessons, a lot of takeaways from today's section. I think it's going to be very valuable lessons to innovators out there and also the younger generation who wants to pursue in research. So thank you so much for your sharing today. So I'll see you soon, Dr. Ho. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity as well.
Thank you.
All right. And I wish everyone who is going into STEM and also technology, trying to develop or basically invent something, good luck and don't give up.
Yes, that's the bottom line. Don't give up because the journey is definitely not going to be easy, right? Innovating a product.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ho. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you.